Our people are docile over time because we don't ask questions. I don't care attitude, nonchalant attitude. You allow things to go the way it is and all that. And that's why they continue to take us for a ride. And that's why they have seen that, language now, that expression now, as a manipulative and a deceptive, tool to deceive the people. That, oh, we are progressive. They're telling the people they are going to the direction, meanwhile what they wanted to do is in their heart and all that. You get what I'm saying? But, however, 12 years is enough for us to begin to say this and that, but it's a phase. Because one thing I often say, especially when I have the privilege of talking like this, is whether anybody like it or not, democracy has come to stay in Nigeria. Never again will military say, my fellow countrymen again. Okay? But one thing that is constant now is, it has come to stay. Soon and very soon, in the last 12 years, we have had a lot of mediocres who are parading as leaders all over the places. We have seen people who have no business being corridor of power, who find themselves because they have money to buy their way and all that. But soon and very soon, democracy, politics will not be a business for mediocre. It will not be a business for money bars anymore. People will look at your track record, they will look at where you are coming from. And that's why people like us are coming on board in this regard. To educate, to reorientate, to sensitize and to mobilize people to begin to demand for what is their right. Because we have gotten to a point where people don't even know the difference between their rights and their privileges anymore. And that's why one system will tell us, or one government will tell us, or one governor will tell us that, oh, this is your right. I mean, this is a privilege. Meanwhile, it's your right. And when you begin to ask questions and all that, people to wonder. So people must rise. And I'm happy about what happened, January, when the president declared war on the poor people in this country. Beyond our widest imagination, in time past when we have no strike, organized strike under, June 12 and all that kind of something under military, it is only very effective and efficient in the southwestern state. Then they will be beaming their camera in the northern part, beaming in Kano, in Kaduna, in Maiduguri, that, oh, the place is peaceful. It is only we in Koye that are fighting. But for the first time, in spite of that came suddenly. Nigerians just woke up from their bed after, the new year, whatever, only for us to be, saying prices of things gone up, fuel, subsidy and all that. But you can see a spontaneous reaction. That means we are no more where we used to be. Nigerians are better educated, Nigerians are better mobilized, Nigerians are better sensitized, and we are alive to our responsibility. Okay, I give kudos for that action, and we must sustain it for us to be able to get progress.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Though you have really attacked myself and the man in Agbada here. Okay, but we'll let that lie. Let's come to the real question for tonight's discussion. I will probably go to Prince Odogiyan. Who are the real progressives? The PDP people are laying claim to being progressive. The ACN has come all out to say the ACN is the only party in Nigeria that is progressive. The Labour Party too is saying they are progressives. Who are the real progressives in Nigeria of today?
Well, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Like one of my co-contributors here, Mr. Jeff, has rightly said, that we have different parties. On what basis are we measuring them? Democracy has been around now for 12 years.
Uninterrupted.
Uninterrupted. And we have some of these parties that you have just mentioned, like the ACN in Lagos, have been there now for the 12 years or going to 30 years. We have them in Osun, in Ekiti. We have the PDP somewhere up north, where they have been there too for the past 12 years. We have them in South-South, where they have been there too for the past 12 years. We have the Labour Party here in Ondo State. Soon will be 3 years in the saddle of governance in Ondo State. Like I've earlier said, it will be better for the benefit of this discussion and this topic to our people, not only in Ondo State, because I'm sure we are not limiting this talk only to this region.
It's a national issue.
We are trying to educate our people in Ondo State here, in Southwest, and in Nigeria as a whole. So it will be better if we say, on what mayor do we measure this claim to being a progressive? Is it just rhetorics? Is it just that people are just laying claims to it without really doing the real thing? Like I've earlier said, if we have to now narrow it down, looking at education, looking at public infrastructure, looking at public security. If we have to start with education, which is what brought everybody to where they are today. The preaching of progressivism by Roosevelt before the election of 1936 in America gave him the landslide victory he had, and people were able to measure it. Up to date, everybody is talking about it. So if we have to take the case of Lagos State, for example, which I will refer to as a man coming into power or a man coming into marriage, living in a room and parlor, and changing the carpet and changing it from, I beg to say, latrine to WC and cistern, and changing the carpet to rug and installing air condition there without moving to a duplex. I'm talking now in the terms of infrastructure compared to road. That's why we have the chaotic traffic there in Lagos in that order. Yes, Fashola has tried. He has done median on the large road that had been built there by the military era. He has been able to create median on them. But what I think is needed, if you talk of progressive, is to develop further every time on what is on ground. Road expansion, creation of new road. We have the first mainland, second mainland, and the third mainland bridge being built by the military era. Majorly, the landscape of Lagos was formulated and developed to that format by Gowon at 100 car per square kilometer for 6 million people. Now we have 18 million people and we have 400 cars per square kilometer. It has not improved. It was during their debate before the 2011 April election was questioned that you have 24 hospitals in Lagos State. And Fashola said no, it was wrong, that they have 25. If you have 25 hospitals for 18 million people, and there have not been any improvement, what measure of it? Of 18 million, or what ratio of it to 25 hospitals? If we talk of housing, where the last public house that was sold to the public was built by the likes of Jakonde in Lagos State, and Ajashi, Adekunle Ajashi, in Ondo State here. And having, after Ajashi now, I think Dr. Mimiko is the 13th governor we are having, and the 4th elected one after Adekunle Ajashi. Building this same housing in Nijapo, in Obaile and Oda Road. Affordable and comfortable for the middle class. And we are not having it happening anywhere around in Nigeria. Where roads are built and are being concessioned without any alternative road, according to the world order, that there should be an alternative road for the poor people who does not have money to pay toll gate to run through. And you say it's progressive. Reducing the number of schools in states like Osun from 1,200 to 800, and we say it's progressive. Increasing school fee in our tertiary institution by over 700%, and we say that is progressive. I think progressivism should be about the people. It should be about developing the people. So, and if we say who is a progressive, you have increased school fees to 350,000 naira in Lagos, and they have not been going to school since then, and you have increased it to 300,000 in Osun, and they have been on strike since then, and we still pay 25,000 naira in Ondo State here. Then who is a progressive? So these are the things I want us to narrow it down to what is happening around if we really want to gain from it.
So thank you so much. I know a lot of people want to react to what he said, but let's go for a short break, and when we come back, you have time to react.
The security of lives and property is supposed to be everybody's business, but it is rather disturbing that some people do not seem to be concerned in any way about it. This attitude is responsible for criminal activity such as armed robbery attacks, kidnapping, arson, and so on. This should certainly not be the case if we truly love ourselves. Ondo State is a peaceful environment and the people do not compromise peace at all times. So, let's continue to embrace peace, say no to violence, and be security conscious. And whenever you know notice breach of security in your area, don't hesitate to call law enforcement agencies on the following telephone numbers: 0803 702 4382, 0806 846 8800, 0803 314 8084, 0806 846 9600, 0803 306 9732, 0806 565 4339, 0703 431 3903, and 0803 472 7873.
I'll give you the time to react to
Yes,
Prince
thank you very much. You see,
Let's start from,
if Prince
Dr. Alawiye.
Odogiyan looks at things happening in Lagos, in Osun, and in Ondo State, and he has done a comparative analysis, he's being political.
Yeah.
And that will not be acceptable to us. You see, you can't say everything that is happening in Ondo State is perfect.
But the
No,
word
nobody's saying
progressivism
it's,
is
no,
service
nobody's
political.
saying it's perfect.
Yes, of
Nobody
course.
say it's perfect, but that's why I said we have to
Let
measure
me
it.
have my way.
Yes, we have to measure
Please,
it.
let me have my way.
On a comparative basis.
I am in the root of Ondo State.
Okay.
One born and developed here. And I have witnessed all that has been happening here in the last 12, 13 years. Ondo State is making some progresses. But you can't say it is better than Lagos State in the progress making. How can you say that? It's feasible. You can see it. You can measure it.
Has.
Now, look at
In
it.
terms of money, volume, what they
Yes.
generate,
Let's
what Ondo State has,
Yes.
you would say Ondo State as that person.
I am not condemning. Let me finish.
allow him
Just
to-
let me finish. Everybody will have an
Yes.
opportunity of making their own contribution. You see, take housing, for example. The houses that are sold to civil servants in Ijakwa Estate, in Obaile Housing Estate, some 12, 14 years ago, built by Baba Jashin, how much were they sold to the public? 8,500 naira for each unit of house. The houses that are being built today, and look at the salary structure between then and now. What has been the difference? Very little significance when you think about the level of inflation. And such houses today are going for 3 million, for 2 million, and the least of them will be maybe a one-room housing unit, maybe for 1 point something million. Well, who is the civil servant who can afford that? If he doesn't have to pay over a 30 years time, and he will die before he finishes paying. Don't let us leave the issue and begin to whip up irrelevancies. I will tell you point blank that, well, we consider we are making some progress, but the progress is not targeted at the poor. The poor people in this state are very, very hungry. Take it or leave it.
Everywhere.
Lagos is not, Lagos, we are not saying Lagos has become a perfect place, but Lagos has significantly become the cynosure. That is the symbol of a sample in Nigeria.
Then can we narrow it down, sir?
Good works have been done there. I have taken housing.
Yeah, what
as
housing,
a
what
typical
housing
example.
then is built in Lagos?
And
for how much?
Well,
where?
whatever you want to say.
No, let's say
you
you
have looked at it round
the ratio
and round.
of what is paid by
Gentlemen,
so what is
allow me to
contribute.
You have said your own. Let me say what I want
You
to
have
say.
the whole time, you talk,
Yes,
we all
nobody will
listen,
counter you.
please.
Dr.
When we
Alawiye,
talk to allow
Yes,
us
sir.
to express.
Are you true to your submission?
No, I'm not through with my submission.
Okay.
Yes.
Talk, please.
As it is today in Nigeria, there is no progressive nowhere.
Okay.
No government is lending to the people the quality and the characteristics of a progressive.
Okay.
Everybody has been doing what pleases them and pleases the people of their party and pleases the people who are dear to their heart. We are not seeing what progressive should see. Look at India, as populated as it is. India is about 1.2 billion in population. But you'll find out that the government of India is still making effort to see that the average person there, despite the poverty that was in that country a few years ago, that the people are focused at and properly serviced.
Yeah, thank you so much. You've had your say. Let's listen to Mr. Adewale Abitogun. I'll come back to you shortly, Mr. Abidoye.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Now, for us to properly understand the seriousness of some element of duplicity and what at times I look at as being dubious, what is third progressivism in the Southwest or Nigeria of today or in the world in which we live. I love to provide more historical perspective to how we got to where we are today. You will remember in the early 60s, when Nigeria attempted to go into a relationship on military stuff with Britain that was known as the Nigerian Anglo Defense Pact, which boomeranged. Students went on the streets, people were killed and all that. Fast forward to the time of Obasanjo, when students, again, the Alimongo thing, and then the anti-SAP riots of the late 90s.
1988.
Yes, late 80s and early 90s. You will look at what I call the authentic progressive movement, which has been hijacked by political opportunists of our time. Even the most critical struggle of the day, of this age, which was the June 12th thing, political sideliners, military apologists, they all came after the military handed over, or shortly before the military handed over, like vultures feasting on possible carcasses. Everybody positioned and pushed aside real leaders of this country, students who sat down for nights. I mean, somebody like Bola Ajimuda, somebody like Banidile Opeyemi, the Ogaga forwarders of this nation. You don't see them in politics as such. Only recently were they trying to bring Olisa Agbakoba and other radical elements into the scheme of things in this country. Now fast forward to what our people are doing. What you find is people pandering to certain political class. Let's do it like this so that somebody will think that we are part of them. Or let us, trying to deceive our people en masse. Now, that brings me back to the concrete issue of what developmental strides have been taken, whether in Lagos, Kafansha, or Akure. I tell you, where I stand, I don't really love wearing the toga of or branding myself as this or that. I'm just a journalist. But let me tell you, there is a kind of mass deception going on in Southwest today, whereby if you don't belong in ACN, you are treated as if you are a political leper, so to say. Okay, they know those they want to identify. For instance, if Baba Fashionati is named as a Ferry leader, you would see certain elements in Lagos because they denigrate, they look down on people from Ondo or Ekiti State. They will not recognize Baba Fashionati as an authentic progressive. They would cast aspersion on somebody like Olufalai. The same token is what you see being visited on Mimiko. I'm not his apologist, but one thing I've noticed these days, whether you are talking of Awolowo time or in our time, I've been around. My father was a politician to some extent. I witnessed and became politically conscious even from age 7. I've not seen anybody that would say they have witnessed the amount of projects Mimiko has got to take on simultaneously. You go to villages, you go to towns, you go to cities in Ondo State. Simultaneously, things are going on massively. Now you look at the resources available to Ondo State, this is what Lagos has to spend on some of the, what I would call grandiose projects they are doing at times. For instance, going against the law of nations, saying you are developing new eco out of nowhere, wastage. That is not basic to what can keep Nigeria going. What is basic is this: massive investment in education. Because for too long, and Awolowo said it, remember that guy, Baba Awolowo, always researched into political things like a physical scientist would do his experiments and then come out with unambiguous conclusions. Baba Awolowo said it: to remove ignorance from the evils coming, the devil in this nation, you would have solved 90% of the problems of this country. But for our politicians, they benefit from seeing our people live in ignorance. For instance, I listen to radio stations here, This is what I notice now, a trend where superstition is on steady progress. That is one progressivism I've seen, superstition. People who know that what they are telling the people do not in any way benefit the cause of longevity, lifespan, and all that. Because if you don't guarantee good health and good education, sound mind within sound body, there is no way you can have healthy population that would be able to guarantee and carry on their shoulders the development of this nation in a sustainable way. None of our people think of that. What they see is abalagbologbo, they just tell stories, the dead walking somewhere, baloney. You only hear such mentality in a third world place. And that is what our politicians encourage. They put the people on the doors of deception and stories that cannot be verified, and then they benefit, they loot, they do whatever they want to do. Now, concerning our leaders in the Southwest, there is a threat in the name of progressivism to forced hegemony. It is not healthy. If in nature you don't see Iroko tree being the same height with coconut tree, or you don't see O.S.R.C River looking like the lagoon or the Atlantic, then who tells you that the model of political ideology embraced in Osun State, and or the one in Oyo State, or the one in Lagos is the one that should work for Ondo State? Where is the place of healthy competition? For God's sake, if we all sleep and then lay our hands on the same side of the pillow every night.
Since we don't have much time, let's allow equity and fairness. Mr. Abidoye, I could see you were so eager to say something.
Well, it's beautiful because I always like, and I don't equally like too, who've come here
Make
to
up
look
your
at
mind.
issues